Another 12 months has passed and lots of games have been played, so it's time to look back and discuss my favourites from the previous year. Like last year, this isn't necessarily games that were released this year, this is just games that I played and completed this year. Now I want you guys to join in on the fun, so feel free to put in the comments your top 5 lists, as it will give me and others suggestions on what games to check out next. Now before we get into the list, I have to say this year was tough. I had the opportunity to play some wonderful games this year, so a lot of tough decisions were needed to make this list. Before the number 1 slot, I will be giving some honourable mentions to games that didn't make the top 5. With all that said, let's get started with number 5, and that's Kena, Bridge of Spirits. This comes from the team at Ember Lab, and this is their first video game, as they started out life as an animation company. They produced the excellent Majora's Mask Terrible Fate short, which, if you haven't seen, I urge you to check it out. I really enjoyed my playthrough of this. I have 1 or 2 niggles about it, but they did not impact my enjoyment. Let's start with the thing that grabbed everyone's attention, which is the design and animation. My word, this is a beautiful game. This is a game where it feels like a breath of fresh air as it's so vibrant and colourful. The character designs are wonderfully cartoony, with it feeling like if Pixar worked on a feature with Studio Ghibli, which of course is not a bad thing at all. The story is a roller coaster of emotions. One moment you're being taken in by the whimsy of it all, and the next you are close to tears as Kena is helping the spirits in need. The main villain has a really interesting story, which is nice, rather than a cookie cutter villain. Okay, so let's discuss my negatives. Mostly, the controls are great. However, the parry system is so difficult to master. The window of opportunity to parry is so small that I never really got the hang of it, which is such a shame, as some of the enemies needed you to parry their attacks to get the most damage to them. I did manage to work around this in the end, and in no way, shape or form did it impact my gameplay. The boss encounters are so much fun, but wow, by the end, the difficulty spike jumps right up. This isn't a negative, as when I would finally defeat the trickier bosses, I would feel a huge sense of accomplishment. I would say if at the start of the game you feel like you're breezing through it, be ready, as you will get slapped around by the end. Now this comes at a high recommendation from me. If you have a PlayStation or a PC capable of playing this, get a copy and play it ASAP. Not really a long experience, as I'd say around 10 to 12 hours, but a very enjoyable experience. More games from Ember Lab, please. Next up is a game that ties back to my number 1 game of 2021, as it's made by the same developer, Giant Squid. This is Abzu. So when I was playing The Pathless on stream over a year ago, I was constantly being recommended the developer's previous game, Abzu. So I decided to check out the game on stream. This is a wonderful experience from start to finish. This game has everything I wanted. A beautiful but simplistic art style, Austin Wintory working his magic for the soundtrack, and a story shrouded in mystery that is begging to be learnt more about as you play. To get the one negative out of the way, the controls. They take a little getting used to at first. As is the way with games in water, the swimming feels very bizarre at first. Once you get to grips with it, you are fine for the rest of the game. Like The Pathless, the game is a right looker. The art style, again, like The Pathless, is simple but beautiful. I loved how vibrant the ocean was at times in this. Many times during my playthrough, I would just stop what I was doing and just say, wow. There is no dialogue in this, and how you learn about the story and the lore of the world around you is by looking on the walls as there are paintings. As you go through the game, you see more and more of these, and if you pay attention to them, you can piece things together. This is very much like Journey in that aspect, as it's the same thing there. I adore Austin Wintory's soundtracks for Journey and The Pathless. This is no exception. It's beautiful, haunting, and stress-inducing at times. It really plays well to the visuals on screen and will be listened to regularly, like the 2 soundtracks mentioned previous. So, if you're like me and love Journey, The Pathless, and those kind of games, and you've not experienced Abzu, I highly recommend it. It's not a long experience and you can finish this in around 2 hours or so. However, this is one you won't forget in a hurry. Next up is a relatively recent wider release. It's a game that was exclusive to Stadia. However, it's now available for everyone to enjoy. So let's talk about Wavetale. I'm always on the lookout for short and fun games to play. Then one evening I stumbled upon the trailer for Wavetale from Thunderful Games. As soon as the trailer ended, I knew I had to check it out on release. Now I'm going to say this now, I urge you to go check out this wonderful game. It clocks in at around the 3-hour mark, so it really won't take too much of your time. But what's here is glorious. First up is the art, and this game is a looker. I love this art style in games where it's very simple, but there is beauty in this simplicity. The colours really pop as the characters have a very cartoony design to them. As I said when talking about Kena earlier, I love that more games are using colour, as for so long we've had games with very bland colour palettes. The music fits this game wonderfully, as it had a playful yet mysterious tone to it. However, when it's time to kick some enemy butt, you know it's gonna ramp up. The gameplay is simple but to the point. However, the highlight of all of this is the water travelling. Gliding along the water just feels amazing. Once you get a good pace going on the water, you really don't want to lose it. The story here is excellent, with a great cast lending their voices to the characters. It's a very heartfelt story, which I will admit did choke me up a little towards the end. The dynamic between our main character Sigrid and her grandma is fun and feels very natural. Overall, this is a short but solid experience that I think more people need to experience. This gem of a title has been hidden on Stadia for over a year. I'm so glad that it's finally out of that exclusivity for more to enjoy. This next game was possibly my most highly anticipated game of 2022, as it brings back one of my favourite franchises back to video games. So let's talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. Thank goodness for Dotemu and Tribute Games for putting out this title. This was pretty much everything we would want in a new TMNT game, and more. The combat is simple enough so anyone can jump in, but has complexity so if you want to delve deeper. The art design really takes you back to the original animated series, which I'm sure was the intro to the franchise for most of us. The soundtrack is new, but also feels familiar as you can hear inspiration from the previous TMNT games. I love that they included couch co-op with this, as it really brings back the old days of playing other side-scrolling beat-em-ups with friends. As my 4-year-old daughter loves the Turtles, we played some of this together and we've had a blast. T-Lopes provides the music for this and he did an incredible job. The music fits so perfectly with this, and as said previously, there are lots of little nods to the previous TMNT games in the soundtrack, particularly the sound of the Turtles in Time soundtrack. I also like that in the first few tracks, there's melodies from the 80s cartoon theme in there. It really makes returning fans feel right at home again, as it all feels very familiar. The story is a simple and to the point one. However, this does work in the game's favour, as arcade and console games in this style would have a simple plot. However, the journey you take with your friends to beat the game is what you talk about. Also sprinkled throughout the game are cameos from other characters from the show. When you find a cameo character, you do a little quest for them, which are simple fetch quests, but it gets you going back to previous levels and play them completely differently as you are on the hunt for items needed for that character. Most important, and was a wonderful surprise when announced, was that the 4 original voice actors for the Turtles are back for this. It's such a treat to hear these guys voice these iconic characters once again. It also really hits home the nostalgia that the developers were aiming for. If you are a long-time TMNT fan like myself and you've not played this yet, what are you waiting for? Go play this game. If you aren't a TMNT fan but love side-scrollers, then I say go play this. It's really fun and it's even better with friends. So get your buddies over with some pizza and get that turtle power! So before we get to the number one slot, let's give some honorable mentions. As I said at the start, this was a tough list to put together, so I want to shout out a couple of games that didn't quite make the top 5. First up is The Gunk from Thunderful Games. This had everything I wanted: beautiful graphics, an interesting story that made me want to learn more and play the game more, the controls that were intuitive and tight, and it's a shorter experience that doesn't outstay its welcome. Next up is The Artful Escape from Beethoven and Dinosaur, which I feel is one of the most creative games visually I have seen in a very long time. It gave me flashbacks to the film Yellow Submarine with the art style. The story is also very interesting with a great message at the end. Final honourable mention goes to Death's Door from Acid Nerve. Something a little different from me, as this is a Souls-style game. However, the story and art style got me interested when seeing the trailer. I really enjoyed my playthrough, and it wasn't as crushing and defeating as I thought it would be. Like most games on my list, it's a short experience, but a really enjoyable one. So, here we go, my number one game of 2022. When putting this list together, I knew straight away this would be my number one. I talk about it regularly to this day after playing it on stream, as it's such a unique and wonderful experience. So my number one game of 2022 goes to Unpacking from Witchbeam. I've been told about Unpacking several times, saying it's a very satisfying experience and very zen before playing it. Jemmy checked out the game on the Switch and I watched her play some of it. I had so much fun just watching that I knew I had to try it for myself. When you hear the premise of the game, which, if you aren't aware, is you unpack boxes and then put the items in the right place in the room that you are in. Now you wonder to yourself, how is that going to be compelling enough to keep you invested in a game? Well, it really does, and it's more than just opening boxes. To quickly discuss the gameplay side of things, it's very satisfying to get everything unpacked and put in the right place. In each stage, you pretty much have free reign over where you put the items. However, one or two things need to be in specific places. To top it off, when you finish unpacking a room, you get a time lapse of your work. If you're playing on PC, you can save the time lapse as a GIF for social media. This is really smart thinking, as this encourages people to post about your game. However, the big and surprising part of this was the storytelling. You follow your character through several years of their life, and you learn so much about your character and what's happening to their life throughout. The most interesting part is that your character never says a word. Things that you unpack and your surroundings tell you everything you need. Such a different way to tell a story that is executed perfectly. This is one I really recommend, and after my playthrough on stream, I still go back to it and complete a full run of it. I'll warn you though, you will get addicted to it. So there we have it, that's my top 5 games of 2022. Like I said earlier, this was a tough list to make, as so many great games have been played this year. If your favourite games of 2022 weren't on my list, then feel free to post your top 5 in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, then feel free to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when a new video goes live or when I'm live streaming. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.